You haven't texted anyone in months. Your birthday came and went. Just another Tuesday. Someone asked if you wanted to hang out, and you said you were busy. And here's the thing. You weren't lying. You were busy protecting the last part of yourself that still feels safe. People are calling you cold now, distant, the one who changed. But nobody's asking the real question. What if you didn't abandon everyone? What if you just stopped pretending you weren't already invisible? You didn't wake up one morning and decide to become someone who walks away from everyone. This took years. Years of being the friend who always showed up, who dropped everything when someone needed you, who remembered birthdays, checked in, drove across town at midnight because they were crying. You were the reliable one, the emotional first responder, the person everyone knew they could count on. Then one day you needed someone, and the silence was deafening. Maybe you got a single text. Sorry you're going through that. Maybe someone said they'd call later. They never did. And something inside you started doing math you didn't ask it to do. Your brain began running calculations in the background. How much energy am I putting into this person? What am I actually receiving back? And the numbers didn't add up. You were always the one texting first. Always the one rearranging your schedule. Always the one making sacrifices. And when you looked at how often they did the same for you, the answer was almost never. This is where something fascinating happens in your nervous system. That incredible survival machine inside you started recognizing a pattern. Every time you opened up, every time you let someone see the real you, every time you needed support, you ended up alone with the pieces. The friend who disappeared when you got depressed. The partner who left when life got complicated. The family member who was there for celebrations but gone during breakdowns. Your brain learned something brutal. Connection equals eventual abandonment. So you started controlling the only variable you could. The exit. And here's what messes with people's heads. Abandonment hurts less when you're the one who initiates it. People call it self-sabotage. Self-fulfilling prophecy. But you call it pattern recognition. You call it learning. This didn't start recently, though. Somewhere way back, probably in childhood, you absorbed a fundamental lesson. People leave. People hurt. Or people simply aren't there when it matters. Maybe you had a parent who was physically present but emotionally unavailable. Maybe you were the kid who learned to handle everything alone because asking for help meant hearing, "Not now," or "Figure it out yourself." Or worse, nothing at all. Maybe your feelings were treated like inconveniences. Stop being so sensitive. You're overreacting. Other people have it worse. So you learned that needing people is dangerous. That vulnerability is a trap. Your nervous system absorbed this while it was still developing, still trying to understand how the world works. Those early experiences became your blueprint. They drew the map of what connection looks like, what happens when you let someone get close. And every adult relationship that followed just added more data to confirm it. Eventually, you'll be alone. Eventually, the care runs out. Eventually, people reveal that you were never actually a priority. Your nervous system wired itself around this truth, not because you're broken, but because you're a learning organism. You adapted to your environment. That's not a flaw. That's survival. Now here's where people get it wrong. They say you've built walls. But you didn't build walls. You built boundaries. There's a massive difference. Walls keep everyone out indiscriminately. Boundaries keep the wrong people out. The problem is, after enough years of only encountering the wrong people, those boundaries start looking like fortresses. And maybe right now that's exactly what you need. This phase you're in? It's not about rejecting human connection forever. It's about refusing to accept garbage connection just because it's available. You didn't stop wanting people. You stopped accepting anyone who shows up with the same red flags you've already cataloged. You became a detective of abandonment patterns, and you're really good at it now. You can spot them within the first few conversations. The friend who only reaches out when they need something, you see it in how they never ask how you're actually doing. The person who's present when your life looks good but vanishes the second things get messy. You know the exit signs by heart now. Responses getting shorter. Let's hang out soon becoming code for never. The friend who will definitely call when things calm down. But somehow things never calm down. You've developed what psychologists call hypervigilance, but not the paranoid kind, the accurate kind. You're reading micropatterns that others miss or choose to ignore. The subtle shift when you mention struggling. The convenient excuses that always favor them. The way effort only flows in one direction, always toward them, never back to you. Your pattern recognition isn't pessimism. It's data collection. And the data keeps proving you right. You've become fluent in the language of emotional unavailability. You can translate every "I've been so busy" into what it actually means. You stopped believing promises because you've watched them evaporate too many times. Every "we should catch up" dies exactly when you expect it to. You've seen this pattern repeat with enough people that you stopped being surprised. Now you just cut it short. Not dramatically. Not with confrontation. Quietly. You stop initiating. Stop trying. See if they notice. They almost never do. And that silence tells you everything you needed to know. Here's something people don't understand. The loneliest you ever felt wasn't when you cut everyone off. It was before that. Sitting in a room full of friends and feeling completely invisible. Being in a relationship and still feeling fundamentally alone. Having a full contact list and no one to actually call. The physical isolation you chose didn't create the loneliness. It just stopped pretending the loneliness wasn't already crushing you. And here's what surprises people, maybe even you. It doesn't hurt the way you thought it would. The holidays alone. The birthday with no messages. The emergency you handle by yourself because there's literally no one to call. You expected it to feel devastating. Instead, it feels quiet. And quiet became your favorite sound. Silence became safety. People don't understand why you choose isolation over connection. They don't see that for you, isolation isn't the opposite of connection. It's the absence of rejection. It's the one space where you can't be abandoned because there's no one close enough to leave. You can't be disappointed by people who aren't in your life. You're not cold. You're clear. You're not closed off. You're protected. You're not bitter. You're just done accepting breadcrumbs and calling it a meal. This isn't you giving up on human connection forever. It's you refusing to accept the broken, one-sided, painful version of it that's been offered to you over and over again. It's you saying, if this is what relationships are, constant performing, endless one-sidedness, waiting for people who never show up, then I'd rather have none of it. And here's what nobody tells you about choosing yourself after a lifetime of choosing everyone else. It's not selfish. It's survival. It's finally recognizing that you can't keep pouring from an empty cup into people who treat you like a convenience store. Open when they need you, forgotten when they don't. You're not the villain in their stories, no matter what they say when you're not around to defend yourself. You're just someone who finally stopped waiting for people to care and started caring about yourself instead. Maybe one day you'll try again. Maybe you'll meet someone who makes connection feel safe instead of terrifying. Maybe you'll find people who show up without needing to be begged. Maybe you'll discover what reciprocal care actually feels like. Maybe. But right now, in this season, you're protecting the part of yourself that still remembers what it felt like to hope. You're keeping that small flame alive by refusing to let anyone blow it out again. Because cutting everyone off isn't the absence of love. It's the presence of self-preservation. It's your nervous system finally saying enough. You're not cold. You're surviving. You're not giving up. You're finally putting yourself first after putting everyone else first for so long it almost destroyed you. The walls you built? They're not keeping you trapped. They're keeping you alive. They're giving you space to heal without someone constantly reopening the wounds. Space to become someone who might one day be ready to try again, but only on terms that honor who you are and what you've been through. You're here now, in the quiet, in the space you cleared by cutting away everything that was slowly suffocating you. It's not the ending people wanted for your story. It's the one that's keeping you whole. And maybe that's enough for now. Maybe protecting your peace is the most radical act of self-love you've ever committed. Maybe being alone is how you're finally learning that you were never the problem. The people who couldn't show up for you were. If this resonated with something deep inside you, if you felt seen in these words, click subscribe. This channel exists to help you understand your patterns without judging them, to explain human behavior in ways that make sense, and to remind you that choosing yourself isn't cold. It's courageous. There are more videos here about building connection that doesn't cost you everything. You're not alone in feeling alone. And understanding why you are the way you are. That's the first step to deciding who you want to become.